Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and welcome to Quadrant. My name is Mitch Frazier. I'm president and CEO of Agronovis Indiana, and we are absolutely delighted that you're joining us today. We created Quadrant as an experience for our industry to come together, to spend time with one another, to create community, to learn from one another, and just engage. And today we are going to do just that. We are going to dig into the fastest growing area of the Indiana ag bio, and that is ag tech. Today, we're joined by two incredible leaders in ag tech. And before we hear from them, we'll just give you a little orientation to the platform that we're operating from. During today's conversation, at any time, if you have a question, over here on the right side of your screen, there is a chat and a Q&A. Feel free to drop your questions in there, and we will get to them during the conversation today. We'll also have an opportunity for Q&A at the end of the panel. And then we will go back into the networking area that you just left to have time to speak with, whether it's Daniel, whether it's Mike, anybody here, you can go back and have a conversation with them. Now, our objective today was to be together in person. I appreciate everybody's flexibility in doing this virtually. We do have plans to extend Quadrant to an in-person event coming up in October. More details on that coming up before we finish up today. So let's jump into today's discussion around ag tech. We are joined by two absolute incredible leaders in ag tech. They're leading two rocket ships of ag tech companies here in Indiana. We're joined by Chief Operating Officer of Sony, Daniel Pedreo, and we're joined by Taranis Chief Commercial Officer, Mike DePaula. Daniel and Mike, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Mitch. Thanks for having.
Absolutely. Good to see you both. And Mike and Daniel, I've had a great chance to get to know you, but not everybody here knows you, knows your company, and knows the problem you're solving. So Daniel, I'd like to start with you. If you could maybe just orient folks to who you are and the problem that Sony is solving.
So I'm Daniel. Probably you'll never notice because of my lack of accent, but I'm from Brazil, originally from Brazil, living in Indiana for, I don't know, since for 3 years now. So I've been working, I like to say that I've been working with Sony Tech for almost 11 years now, 5 years as a customer. So I started implementing technology in Brazil, got passionate about it, and then they invited me to join the company. And since then, I'm having a lot of fun working in Brazil and now here in the US with everybody here in Indiana. What Sony Tech does, if I have to explain, it's hard to explain. It's something that we always struggle to explain. But what we do, what we are really focused in is solving problems in real time. It is look for what's happening. So agriculture is everything changing all the time. There is many opportunities to improve, but the one that we chose to do, it is look for what's happening now. We know what have to be done in agriculture. Focus on what's happening and how everything is changing and adapt to what you're doing in real time. So making you have a better use of inputs, machines, people, and all of that in real time. That's what we do. You're on mute. Mitch, you're on mute.
Now I'm not. Daniel, really good to see you. Thanks for the overview. We're going to dig more deeply into the Sony story here coming up. Mike, welcome. If you could maybe say a little bit about you, your background, and what it is you are solving at Taranis.
Sure. Yeah. My name's Mike DePaula. First, thank you to everyone for joining, and Mitch for you having me here. I'm with Taranis. I'm actually at our global headquarters here in Westfield, Indiana. So what the problem is a fairly basic one, and that's, what you can't see in the field. It's very similar. Slimtech does a great job on the operational side, and I have a lot of respect for what they do and how they're in the workflow. We'll talk about how we do that. We start at the farm gate effectiveness. So we think about whether you're retail, co-op, and independent, how the trusted advisor and the grower work together to solve real-time problems every day. And so we use artificial intelligence and machine learning, computer vision, and we're really great at capturing content on what's happening on every acre. And with that content, then we help you create the solution. So where we don't create all of the solutions, we enable a trusted advisor to add that to the science that they're delivering every day and help you get more yield, more acres done, and spend the time where it counts. And that's solving the problem on the acre with the grower. So Taranis is here to help you scout with precision and act with confidence. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's great, Mike. Really good insight. And in both cases, Daniel for you and Mike for you, what I really appreciate about both your stories as well is you both have decided to move the companies to Indiana. We'll talk more about that as we come through today's conversation. And speaking of Indiana, I would be remiss. Thank you to Inside Indiana Business, the official media sponsor of today's Quadrant event. Daniel, I want to first come to you with insight into Solitech. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago that we saw, or I saw with great excitement, a story coming out of Sao Paulo that claims or predicts or forecasts that Solitech could be the next agtech unicorn, meaning a company with over $1 billion valuation. What's driving the growth?
So, Mitch, I think I can talk on behalf of the whole team. For us, like, a unicorn, it's, I don't know, a toy that our kids play every day. For us, like, it's a weird, we don't wake up every day thinking what we're going to do to be a unicorn. It is a consequence. I think we leave this for investors and for the market to talk about. What we really believe that what gives us confidence that what's going to happen and why we are so excited about everything that's happened with the company and so fast is because the footprint that we have, that we are building, give us this confidence. So some numbers that I always like to share because we are very proud. So this year we're going to finish with 90% of all the acres with sugarcane in Brazil. In every single acre, we have our solutions running. And that is not like something happened. It is every single piece of machine, most of the decisions that customers are taking in sugarcane. So 90%, we're very proud of that, especially because it was where we started in Brazil. We launched our solution 4 years ago for row crops, and we are seeing a lot of traction. So since we launched the solution, we've been growing, we've been tripling the number of acres that we have with this solution. We see, adoption coming. We are seeing the same thing in other countries in Latin America that we have our solution. And here in the US, we're just starting 3 years ago. What we are seeing is traction on solutions that we already have, customers using our success cases happening. A new solution that we just launched for grain to work with elevators. But especially we are really excited about the partnerships that we did with farmers, with especially retailers and co-ops, progressive ones, helping us to develop solution, building this relationship to not for the solutions that we have today, but for what will come, for what we're going to develop and deliver in the future. So that's why we believe that what is coming, it's pretty nice, and we are confident that we're going to get there.
Oh, that's great, Daniel. I'd love the solution. You and I have spent time together, many of your team, really focusing on the problem to create the solution. I love the strategy. And Mike, you've done a lot of evolution with the team at Taranis.
Sure.
Since joining Taranis and since bringing the company's headquarters here to Indiana. Sure. As Chief Commercial Officer, you've led a real transition of transformation in go-to-market, now really focusing not just on the grower, but on those that serve the producer. If you could maybe talk a little bit about that pivot and how that's going.
Yeah, so first I want to congratulate Daniel and Solitech on their well-earned success, and it's a great article, and you guys deserve every bit of it. And that's another reason why it's good to be around good neighbors here in Indiana. So congratulations, Daniel and Solitech. I'd say for Taranis, we're very fortunate, and we've had quite a bit of success, but it's really simple, right? We're providing solutions that trusted demand and growers deserve, and it's an underserved part of the value chain and market when we look at technology. So now they get to do more, they get to scout more, they can act more, they save time, yield, and money. So it seemed like an obvious thing to focus on. Not sure why it wasn't more important historically in ag tech. But when you have great technology, Mitch, that's just a tool or a set of tools. If you can make those tools part of the agronomist workflow and how the agronomist and the advisor and the growers can spend more time together, now you have something useful, right? So every solution that we make, we take a multidisciplinary approach. We're great at tech, we're great at operations, we understand agribusiness, not just agronomy. And so everything we make is mobile first and made with the advisor and the grower in mind with one purpose, and that's to increase the engagement and the effectiveness. We also make it simple. So at Taranis, there's no flying, no uploading, no guesswork. You focus on your growers in your fields. I'd also say that we're for every advisor, right? So while the growers and the advisors have the freedom to share this directly with the growers, we work with integrated retail, independent retail, cooperative retail, independent consultants. And I'm glad that we're one of the very few that are focused, but we're setting a trend. We see a lot of new things happening as a result. But to be clear, and I think it's much like something we have in common with Slim Tech, we're 100% invested in the retail advisor success. And I'm just happy to be here today to talk about that and be here with folks like Daniel and you.
Yeah, great. Really helpful, Mike. And I do think there is this shift that we're seeing in ag tech, and it's logical. It's this, let's go define the problem to create the solution. We just saw 2 weeks ago John Deere make a big move, probably the biggest move in ag tech, I would argue, this year. $250 million acquisition of Bear Flag Robotics, a really interesting company that's using robotics on existing ag equipment to solve a labor challenge. And I just love that. Daniel, you just launched a new grain product, and this whole idea around let's go find the problem. Let's really understand what the problem is and create the solution. There's a lot of opportunity for optimization, as you mentioned early on, right? It's a multivariate challenge agricultural systems are. How do you define the right problem to go to solve?
I was like, started doing that. If we go back to how Sony Tech was founded, was 7 engineers and data scientists from Cuba that went to Brazil, and they were trying to solve one problem that was how to optimize a sugarcane industry. And to do that, they went back to the agriculture operation to solve the problems in agriculture operations. And that was how Sony Tech started. I think we've been doing for a while. I think this is part of the DNA of the company. But I think everything, if I have to bring some points here, I'll say that first start with a team, a very technical team that can solve problems. You have to have a technical team that can deal with all the technology that then keep updated because everything changes all the time. So this is a really important thing. But besides the technical aspects, it's having a team that really wants to solve problems, like really like it, it's passionate about solving problems. Like if you see one meeting with a customer from Sony Tech, one of those meetings that we call talking with partners, we see together and you see the bright eyes, like when, oh yeah, it's important, we can solve that. That's really thing that we like to do. So besides the team, find the right place to set your office or your headquarters. It means a lot. So for us, when we started to work with sugarcane, we set the office in Araçatuba, that is the heart of the sugarcane area in Brazil. When we decided to work with row crops and start our solution or launch our solution for crops, and more than that, develop our solution for row crops in Brazil, we set our office in Nova Mutum. It is in the heart of the row crop area in Brazil. And when we came to the Midwest, when we were coming to the US, we decided to come to Indiana to wake up every day, to see corn every day, to see beans every day, to meet farmers in the gas station, to meet farmers in the restaurant, to hear about what's happening, because it helps you to have ideas, to understand the mindset. It's really hard to develop something very far from where you are. So the other thing that I think it's core for us, it is set the right partnerships since the beginning. So you have to find somebody that wants to change, somebody that have this mindset that want to not just improve something, but I want to change something. That was what we did with Clealco in Brazil, with Raizen. That was what we did with Amage in Brazil, and what we did with companies here, for example, as Growmark and other companies. So we sit together and say, we want to change. We know it will take time, what we can do now, what we're going to do in the future. That's why we love this partnership idea. And I hear a lot of times that people saying that agriculture doesn't want to be a guinea pig. I think it's the wrong approach. They don't want to be a guinea pig because nobody wants to take one solution off the shelf and try it. But if you stick with them and if you work hard and you prove that you are improving every day, they love it. And it proves and it helps a lot with another thing that I hear all the time. It is a competitive advantage for my company. It is to develop the solution internally. Sometimes it takes time, can be a way. I'm not against, but it takes time. For me, and from what we learn at Untitled, it is the competitive advance lies on adopt technology as fast as possible. So then it is how you build your competitive advance. And so that's how we work and how we support customers on developing new things and growing their own market.
Daniel, that is incredibly powerful. I love this view of proximity to customer creates better solution, right? I mean, your idea of, hey, sugarcane got to be in sugarcane, row crop got to be in row crop, Midwest got to be in the midst of customers. And we were traveling out west not that long ago, meeting with a number of companies, and the same concept came up, but in the inverse. It's one of the things that are often missing from ag tech is customers. And you kind of scratch your head and you go, wait, that's how this whole thing works, right? And it's so often solutions are developed and they go try to find a problem. And what I really admire about you, what I admire about your team, and what I admire about what you've built is it is problem first, right? Let's go identify the problem, go create the solution. And I think your point on context of customers and proximity to customers is really, really powerful. Mike, you've got a long history in the ag service industry and in ag innovation. Southern States Co-op, lots of other different places. There have been a multiple generation of ag tech innovators.
Sure.
How have you learned from some of those pioneers that came before you, some of the things that maybe they did? How are you applying lessons learned to the business today?
Well, sometimes you learn the hard way. I would say first, let's think about our customer base. It ultimately comes from the farming and growing community, whether you serve in retail or directly as a grower or in a supplier position. So these are generations that have come up. They're natural innovators. So their threshold, their level of expectation and acceptance is incredibly high. So I think it comes down to a couple key things, but I look back and I say it's not about ag tech per se. As soon as you put yourself in the ag tech bucket, you've removed yourself from, I think what Daniel just spoke about, is what are the problems we're solving and how do we take it forward? Again, ag tech, it's agricultural technology. It's a set of tools, but how do you harness the power of those tools and take the innovation capabilities of the client base and really make people in situations better? So ag tech as an industry, I think it's maturing. I think there's a lot more coming from the inside, just like Daniel said, where the companies can focus on the experience and the workflow and the operations and to get it done, not just opportunistic technology. But agronomy, agriculture, yeah, there's science and technology involved, but if you really want to be great at it, you have to treat it like an art. That's because you have to understand the human interactions and understand what's possible. If we went and said, hey, candlestick guild, let's talk about how to invent the next thing. They're not going to come up with a light bulb. Same thing, entrepreneurs aren't always professors. They may know how to invent an airplane, but professors don't teach people how to invent airplanes. They teach them how to build them, how to understand why they fly. So innovation comes from people who are solving problems. And I look at the early ag tech tools, some of the companies, Mitch, you've been with, the pioneers that understood it, like John Deere, people in those spaces. And they focus on what it did for the farm and the grower. And that equipment, whether it's equipment or biotech or even some things in the precision space, I think they're really great examples of just understanding if you know how the technology can be used to solve a problem in an everyday situation, then you have something. And that's where I look at Taranis. Yeah, we're great at tech. I can read your business card from the sky. I can probably see things on your field that would leaf level. I can understand the spots on a ladybug, the defoliation in soybeans. The tech is fantastic, just on its own. It's a marvel. But the art is when you say, I'm going to make it accessible for any sales advisor, regardless of their experience level, to engage with the grower and make it easy. That means you understand how they work. So right. I think the only ones that are still successful are ones that understood the workflow and solved the problem. And I listened to what Daniel said before. I probably should have said what he said, because I look at Slim Tech, I look at Taranis, companies like that. They're coming from the communities in which they serve, so they know the problems that we're trying to solve.
Right.
we focus on solving problems, not creating technology.
Yeah, wildly powerful. And Daniel, how do you think about this? How are you taking lessons from others in ag tech, from others in industry, and applying it to how you're thinking about go-to-market evolution and product evolution?
Hey, Mitch, let me, Mike, agree with me on something. I will disagree with you on something. I don't think that sometimes it's hard. I think it's always hard to develop something. It's not sometimes. All the other things I agree with you, Mike, but it's always hard. Agriculture, it's a hard thing, but it's amazing to work with because it's so you are solving an important problem. So it's really good. So Mitch, to the point that you make, for me, the lesson that we've been learning with everybody, like with large and small and all the companies working in this space, it is find the right balance between today and the future. Like find the right balance between solving problems today and keep your focus on what you in your dream and what you want to solve. So at Sony Tech, we always say, and Britaldo always say that, and all the founders, they say that we want to change agriculture in a good way. It is not that we think that agriculture is not well done. It's amazingly well done, but we can change. With new technology, it's possible to change a lot of things, and new technologies will come, and we have to use this technology to make agriculture better. But on the other hand, farmers, retailers, and everybody in the industry, we have a season. So you have to deliver something at this season to survive to the next one. So this balance, it's really important. We are very proud to deliver solutions that farmers are using and are making money on that, are seeing value on that. But we never forget that our dream is to change agriculture, is to look back and see how many things we changed. So that's I think for me, this is what every day when you wake up, you need to think, okay, let me think about what I'm going to do today for this season and for the seasons that are coming. So this is what we discuss a lot about Sony Tech.
Really good, and a great reminder for those young entrepreneurs that are with us today, that'll watch the playback. This balance of today and tomorrow, right? What do I need to do today to deliver value? And then how does that give me the opportunity to earn the right to innovate for tomorrow? Daniel, that's incredible. We're talking with Daniel Pedreo, Mike DePaula from Tyrannus. Guys, we have time for about, let's say maybe one more question each. To those joining us, don't forget, you can ask questions over in the Q&A panel or in the chat panel, whichever you prefer. We'll make sure we get those to Mike and Daniel. We'll also go back to the networking session right after this, and Mike and Daniel will hang around for a bit, and they're certainly willing to answer any questions you may have that way as well. Mike, I want to go to you, specifically as a venture-backed company.
Sure.
This is a new category for many investors, particularly here in the Midwest. When we look at ag tech specifically, I think one of the challenges is it's just for investors to understand what some of the metrics are that guide the business. If you could, without sharing anything you shouldn't, what are some metrics that you use to guide the business that would be helpful to those looking at the space from afar?
I think you know me. I'll probably share things I shouldn't. And Daniel, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I will say, we sometimes, agriculture is hard, but you got to make that difficult easy for your clients. And that's what we focus on every day at Tyrannus. In addition, ag is going to change, but we're empowering those new generations that are seeking that change. So let's answer the question, right? What are the metrics? So first, is there a significant and addressable market in need? The answer, we share this with you, Daniel, as well. Corn, soybean, cotton, sugarcane, sugar beets, potatoes. I look at the crop and the potential and the needs in those markets. Not only are they large, they're important to our national, to feeding a growing population. So check. The second one is, does the company have unique and clear differentiation? That's investor speak for, is there an overwhelming reason for a customer to pick you over a substitute or a competitor? And the reality is for Tyrannus, the answer is yes, because in most ways, we're the only one bringing high res in a scalable way that's easy to use, and marrying that with the tried and true satellite layers you find. I think the next check mark is, does that company have an experienced and professional leadership team? That really matters. People matter in business. And again, I look at Taranis and I look at what we've been able to build. He's not new anymore. We had a new CEO join from another industry, ERP background, CRM background. You think about why that's important. We take a multidisciplinary approach when we look at technology, operations, agribusiness, and we marry those together. The next step would be, does the company have the ability, the proven ability to execute and scale? Can you grow properly, right? Your say-do ratio then has to be right. Do you do what you say you're going to do? Are your forecasts reliable? From a customer view, if you're delivering and you do what you're supposed to do and you're partnering, then the finance takes care of itself. But I think that's what investors look at. And that creates a solid and dedicated partnership base. And it validates the market acceptance of the solution, right? Because they're speaking with their dollars. The next check mark would be around, does the company have a stable and solid financial profile? And I can tell you part of this is being in the right place at the right time. Indiana helps create those conditions for us, but we also are well backed by some really great investors worldwide in the venture capital community. And so that makes Taranis more than an ongoing concern, but it allows us to outperform and provide those valuable solutions. The next thing that I think investors look at is there a global growth angle? Well, those crops I just mentioned to you, some of the partners Daniel mentioned in Brazil, we know those areas, we work with them as well, so that makes Taranis incredibly valuable. And then finally, and I'll sum it up, but I think the other thing we look for today's day and age is, what's your contribution to the global community? Is it sustainable? Are you doing things that leave things better than they were before? How are you handling stewardship? Again, Taranis' technologies, transparency is literally what we do, really helps retailers and growers attack that problem. So I think, look, I like to come down to three things to your question. What do investors look for? It's the 3 T's: technology, traction, and talent. And Taranis happens to start with a T, and we're loaded with all 3. So I appreciate the question, but I'm confident that's what investors see companies like us. I'm confident that's why you see the articles on unicorns like Salimtech. And those are the things that differentiate companies like us.
Really, really good, Mike. And the 3T strategy, love it. Dr. Alan Gray from Purdue, I see your question. I'm going to ask Daniel one more, and then we will go through questions. Again, don't hesitate to drop a question in chat over on the right-hand side of your screen. We've talked a lot today about ag tech strategy, about growth, about problem solution strategy. Talked a lot about Indiana. You and Mike both have highlighted Indiana's strength. I want to flip the question just slightly. As you look at the future, what you need in your business, what we need as an ag bioscience economy here in Indiana to really grow, what's needed next? What does Indiana need to do? What do you and Mike and all of us collectively need to do to really make Indiana's ag tech economy grow?
So Mitch, we always talk about it. We had, many conversations about it. I think building a community of people, so density of people talking about the same thing and thinking, it's always good. You can share your ideas and you can find people to drink a coffee and learn more. This is something that has been growing. We are happy to have Taranis here now. We are waiting for them. So that's it's nice to have companies like Taranis and many others. I know that you've been working with many companies. So first, building this community that is growing. I think we can grow this community even with investors. I know that AgriNovus, for example, has partnerships with Ag Thunder or Cultivian Sandbox. So it's important to help or to support innovation, not just for companies already funded, but there are an amazing number of ideas inside of Purdue with professors, with students. So to fund those ideas, to make it work, I think it's important. It's growing, but I still think that it could, come faster. And I don't know. And the other thing it is having more companies solving problems. Sometimes you are solving, I always say that you're solving, one problem that is really important, but connected to the whole ecosystem, you will make farmers much more successful. And connecting, I think it's something that we need to work more in building, I don't know, an ecosystem, working, connecting, see how can we connect one solution to the others to solve the problem from the beginning to the end. We love this thing. We don't like so much to solve problems. We love to look for the whole thing and the whole process and see, can we solve the problem from the beginning to the end and provide it to farmers in a simple way to make it easier. So that's I think that's coming, and that's why we are here, and we are really glad to be here and seeing everything happening.
Daniel, that's incredible. And that idea of community, right? Creating community, creating connections, is exactly what we created Quadrant to do. And you mentioned Purdue, which is perfect lead in to Dr. Alan Gray's question. Purdue, Alan asked, what are the key elements of your strategy to attract talent? Mike, you want to start with that, and then Daniel, will turn it over to you to answer.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things about being here in Indiana, you have to be in a good environment first where people can invest in themselves and the company can invest in them. And grateful that Indiana has all of those components to make that good for Taranis and companies to do that. I also think you have to have good people and a good culture. So yeah, we have a good business. Yes, we're doing well, but really when it comes to attracting people, they have to see a future and they have to believe in what you do. And I can tell you that everyone who's joined at Taranis, and the reason that I'm here is we have a culture where we do what we say we're going to do. And I think when you have a culture that's based on integrity, based on solving problems, and people see a future, and then, yeah, they can live in Indiana and keep more of what they earn and invest in themselves and live in a wholesome environment, that creates the right kind of place for people to build careers. So I don't think it's terribly difficult. It's really hard, though, to find the right people this day and age because everybody's on social media. So I think for those looking for jobs, how are you differentiating and showing the can-do attitude? Because skills can be taught, but we hire for attitude and integrity. And if you have the baseline skills, those can be brought up, but you can't correct things that aren't in the baseline attitude or on the character side of the fence. So I'd say, have a company that operates with good character, do what you say you're going to do, and treat your people well, and lead by example. I think that's the last piece. Is I think people leave companies because they leave bosses, they leave leaders. And if you're going to lead, you have to lead by example. You have to eat last. You have to do everything you need to do. And I look around at my partners at Taranis and all of our people, and there's not a one that's on the team that doesn't have that attitude and doesn't do that. So we are still hiring too. So if you've got marketing chops or product management chops, we've got our positions. We're looking to keep building our sales team. Mitch, that's part of the IEDC and Agronovus partnership we've done. We're honoring our end of that and adding roles every day. So if you're looking for the right place to be, I'd suggest Taranis is the first place to look. And if you want to be a little closer to Lafayette, then I'd like to introduce you to Daniel.
Well done, Mike. Daniel, how about you? What are some key elements to your strategy to attract talent, other than having Mike be your hype man? So that's so I will, after the call, I'll call you, Mike, to see if you can help me with headhunting. So again, it's a joke, but we don't attract. So Dr. Allen, we don't attract people, or we try to attract. But the thing is, we chase people with bright eyes, and with that's what we love. Like, people with bright eyes can learn, they will, bright eyes and passion to solve the problem. They will learn, they will grow, they will find the right technical skills that they need. That's what we would like. In most of the people that we have, we always say that it's when you interview somebody and you see bright eyes and you see people passionate about what you're doing, and you can communicate your goals, it will be hard, but we'll get there, and will be exciting, and we'll have a lot of fun. And I don't know, people get excited about it. They join and they start doing, and we see things happening. So I don't know, that's what we do.
Daniel, that is incredible. Daniel Pedreo, Chief Operating Officer of Solotech, Mike DePaula, Chief Commercial Officer at Taranis. Gentlemen, thank you both for investing the time to be with us today. If you would hang around, we're going to move into the networking session. I know lots of folks will have one-on-one questions for you as well. Also, over in the chat, before we go back to that area, you can see Bridget from the Agronovus team posted links to both jobs for Taranis and jobs for Solotech. So please make sure, if you're interested, you check it out there. And also, Dr. Gray, thanks for your question. Really appreciate that. As you can see, Indiana's ag bioscience economy is thriving, and ag tech is the fastest growing category of Indiana's ag bioscience economy. And it's because of great leaders like Mike and Daniel and the teams that they work with every day. They're bringing innovation to the ag bioscience industry, and they're doing it right here from Indiana. There is a lot more work to be done, and I am confident that together we can do that. In fact, we have a bold goal. We have a big ambition at AgriNovus Indiana to work with everyone here on this call, to work with everyone across our economy, to add $4 billion of growth to the ag bioscience economy by 2024. That is a call to action for all of us. That's a really important thing that we can do together, and I'm confident that we can absolutely achieve that goal. Now, I mentioned up front, our next Quadrant event is planned to be in person. Here are the details. You'll see more of these in an email soon, but go ahead and scratch it down to your calendar. 4 o'clock on October 15th. 4 o'clock on October 15th at Purdue University. More details to come, but if you can, go ahead and scratch that late afternoon visit off. There's a lot happening at Purdue, and we've got a great partnership and a great event planned with our friends at Purdue and the Purdue Research Foundation. Really eager to do work with them. October 15th is our next Quadrant event. We look forward to seeing you there. We will now turn it back over to the networking session. And again, if maybe you came in late and you say, hey, what is this? You're going to soon see a screen that looks like a whole bunch of tables. Just double click on a chair at one of those tables and you can join a conversation with anybody at that table. It's just like walking up to a table at a networking event. Before I wrap up, again, thank our friends at Inside Indiana Business for being the official media sponsor of AgriNovus Quadrant. And on behalf of the entire AgriNovus Indiana team, thank you for investing the time to be here today. Let's go connect.